Prophetic truths revealed. 7 miraculous teachings of ancient Christianity for divine healing and comfort. It was dark and stormy within the quaint village of St. Michael's, where the weight of grief clung to the air like melancholy fog. Sarah, a devoted mother, was wrestling with an agonizing heartache. Her little boy, Ethan, battling a terminal illness, was slipping away. The villagers prayed fervently at the church, where its ancient stones often resonated with whispered miracles and heartfelt intercessions. Each flicker of candlelight represented hope, yet Sarah felt her steadfast faith begin to buckle under the relentless weight of despair as the local priest, Father Thomas, recounted tales from the sacred text's miracles of old that could still spark light in dark times. Sarah's heart hung on his every word. "By his stripes, we are healed," he proclaimed with fervor. But those words were losing their grip on her heart. Driven by desperation, she sought modern medicine, opening the door to trials that promised hope but only led to disappointment, twisting the knife of despair deeper into her soul. One evening, the family gathered for prayer, their voices interwoven in a tapestry of longing. As they pleaded for divine intervention, a powerful revelation enveloped Sarah. The chill in her bones gave way to warmth. The scripture resurfaced in her mind with clarity. The flicker of hope reignited. She gathered the villagers with a passionate plea for a night of united prayer. The church soon brimmed with faces eager for change, their hearts swaying together in a melodic rhythm of faith as they offered their cries to the heavens. The air grew electric. Each prayer wove a bond that tightened amidst rising tensions. Could God really heal? Murmurs of doubt echoed, but conviction surged like a tide within the congregation. The candle's flames flickered wildly like a dance, a divine heartbeat surging through the assembly. Just when uncertainty threatened to swallow their spirits whole, hope pierced through the darkness. With the clock ticking towards midnight, anticipation hung heavy. Then, a gasp rippled through the crowd. Suddenly, Ethan stirred after days of silence. His hazel eyes fluttered open, drawing a collective intake of breath from all present. The air crackled with joy, delight echoing like a thunderclap, while Sarah rushed forward, enveloping her son in warmth. A radical shift surged through the church, igniting flickers of renewed faith in those who stood skeptical moments before. But amidst the jubilation, profound questions lingered just out of reach. What did this miracle truly mean? Could this strength be sustained in a world steeped in doubt? The villagers basked in awe, each heart swelling with gratitude, yet aware that they were at a crossroads. This moment was not an isolated miracle but an open invitation into a deeper understanding of the divine, a call to embrace miraculous potential with arms wide open. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the villagers stood in awe, some teetering on the brink of disbelief, a palpable energy suffused the air, drawing them together like iron to a magnet. Could they dare to believe that miracles were not just the stuff of stories but directly relevant to their lives and community? Each whispered prayer echoed within them, carving a path toward radical devotion or sowing seeds of doubt. As they looked upon Ethan, a light surged forth, illuminating their collective journey of faith, an awakening that would resonate far beyond that fateful night, beckoning them toward the profound mysteries that lay ahead. Ethan's awakening was more than just a miracle. It was an act of divine invitation. As the villagers reveled in joy and hope, something deeper resonated within each heart. Life, once dimmed by despair, flickered back to brightness, urging everyone to reflect and to reach for higher truths. Father Thomas stepped forward. His expression swayed between wonder and solemnity. This miracle calls us to seek. His voice soared over the gathered crowd. It beckons us to explore what we have not yet understood. A nervous excitement swept through the listeners as they fixed their eyes on the priest. Could it be? What could he possibly reveal to them the secret to sustaining such grace? Minutes turned to hours, yet no one seemed willing to leave. They were drawn, like moths to a flame, eager to discover the beginnings of a new chapter in their faith. Murmurs filled the sacred space, prayers mingled, and deep reflections turned to living discussions. Sarah felt an unexplainable pull, an insatiable desire to unlock the deeper meaning behind the miracle. What had they tapped into that night? Each of us holds a piece of the truth, Father Thomas continued, his voice growing even stronger. We belong to a tapestry woven together by grace. But remember, with such power exists great responsibility. His words were careful, painting both reverence and urgency. Could they, as a community, bear the weight of hope? As conversations flowed, one elderly villager, Delilah, rose. With a slight tremor in her voice, she spoke, "We must not forget that faith also asks of us. What if we too are called to be reflections of this grace?" A hush fell over the crowd, yet sparks of understanding ignited in their eyes. Can it truly be that we are called to be agents of miracles ourselves? Another villager chimed in hesitantly. Whispers echoed around them, as fear mixed with hope. If they pursued this path, what would it require of them? The night's air seemed heavy with anticipation as they faced an awakening of responsibilities. Each voice was a brushstroke upon the canvas of community revival. In that moment, Sarah took a deep breath. Realization swept over her. They were being led not just to celebrate the miracle but to embody it. The love and healing they experienced were meant to flow through them. Could they truly become vessels of the divine? As midnight melted into dawn, a new resolve began to take root. They would support one another as they leaned into their faith. Each individual vowed to nurture bonds of love, to pray together, and to carry that energy of healing into their daily lives. They were determined not to let the miracle of one child's awakening fade into weekly routines. This was just the beginning. In the days that followed, excitement continued to bubble within the village. New families approached the church, seeking the light they had witnessed. Sarah realized how contagious hope had become. Yet, even amidst the growth, a question lingered within her. What would be the true tests of their renewed faith? How would they respond when faced with trials that might again challenge their spirals of belief? As they basked in the afterglow of the miracle, the villagers knew that this was not the end of their extraordinary journey but the compass to uncharted territories of faith and community. The true manifestation of divine healing and unity lay before them, ripe with potential. Yet, just as they began to step boldly into this new realm of wonder, an unforeseen challenge emerged on the horizon. What awaited them would test not just their hearts but the very foundations of their newfound hope. Would they be ready to face whatever the Almighty had planned? The following days were ones of wonder, yet shadows crept beneath the light of the miracle. Whispers of an approaching storm filtered through the villagers, a storm that threatened not just their peace but their growing faith. Ethan's awakening had ignited a spark. Now it was time to see if it would hold amid the winds of trial. "We must prepare ourselves," Father Thomas urged one evening, his brow furrowed with concern. The warmth of unity felt somehow fragile yet potent. Hope requires vigilance. We mustn't allow the greatness of our faith to sway under pressure. Sarah stood among the villagers, her heart quickening with each word. She felt the weight of responsibility, her shoulders squared, resolve forming within her. Just as life had reemerged through Ethan's awakening, they too must rise in faith, no matter the challenge ahead. Would they, as a community, weather the gales that sought to scatter their newfound hope? Then, as if to confirm their fears, the storm arrived. It began with unyielding rain that seeped into every empty corner of the village, chilling hearts as it began to wash away the joy they had nurtured. Families were divided by torrents, and doubt seeped into once bright spirits. At a gathering in the church, the air was thick with uncertainty. "What is happening to us?" one mother lamented, tears catching the flickering candlelight. "Have we angered God with our audacity to hope?" "No," Delilah replied, her voice a soothing balm, yet firm in its conviction. "This is not punishment. It's a test." In our weakness lies the potential for strengthening. Her wisdom pushed aside fear like a gentle hand. Will we allow this trial to sever what the Almighty has woven together? Father Thomas called out, his voice rallying the hearts of the villagers, charging the air with faith and courage. This storm may seek to break us, but it is also a call to action. Every miracle tests us to see if we will believe. The villagers felt the swell of unity. Sarah's heart beat fiercely. Together, they began to pray, voices rising, each note a lifeline grounded in trust. Lord, they cried together, let us not falter. Let our faith be our anchor. The rain danced rhythmically against the rooftops, resonating with their fervent cries as the storm settled slightly. A profound peace washed over them. With eyes brimmed with tears yet shining with hope, they formed small prayer groups. They told stories, shared testimonies, and allowed hearts to be touched. It was here that Sarah understood. This very storm could deepen their faith. Moments turned into hours, and the lessons they gleaned were palpable. Each community conversation transformed fear into profound spiritual insights. Unity, perseverance, and faith became their new teachings. This test may be our greatest opportunity, Sarah whispered, glancing around at her fellow villagers as a gentle light began to pierce through the storm clouds above them. Just as the rain nourishes the earth, she continued, her spirit enlivened, so too can our trials nourish our spirits. With a renewed sense of purpose, the villagers decided together. They would face the trials with unwavering faith, as agents of healing, not simply receivers but givers of grace. Yet even as the resolve grew strong, a voice echoed from a shadowed corner of the room, full of doubt. But what lies ahead for us? Are we truly prepared for the revelations that await? In this moment, with hearts aligned, they collectively turned their gaze toward the stormy horizon. We don't know what to expect, Sarah said, but as one, we will embrace whatever lesson God has for us. What awaited them as they stepped into the unknown? The wind whispered secrets, and as the storm's ferocity softened, another wind was rising, promising transformation. Would they be willing to listen? As the storm began to ease, a different kind of energy stirred among the villagers. The rain, while fierce, had forged a bond of sincerity, of belonging woven through shared struggle. Sarah could feel the atmosphere changing. The storm had brought forth not just fear, but a bright glimmer of hope. Father Thomas stepped forward, the flickering light of hope dancing in his eyes. Consider this, dear friends. In every tempest, there exists a divine purpose. The very winds that lash at us are the same winds that can propel us forward. Let us find our strength, even in the midst of the storm. With those words, the congregation rallied closer together. The pulse of their hearts synchronized, each beat resonating with life, determination, and faith. As they ventured outside, they witnessed the aftermath. The world transformed yet again. The landscape glistened as the remnants of rain hung in the air like holy mist. Look, one of the villagers, old Jacob, exclaimed with a voice of reverence. He pointed toward the clouds still hovering above, now slightly fractured. A rainbow. Promise. The colors arched miraculously over the village, vibrant against the dark remnants of the storm. Sarah felt her soul sing. She understood the significance. The rainbow was a reminder God's covenant unfolding before them. It signaled the transition from trial to triumph. Indeed, Delilah echoed, her eyes sparkling. This is a sign of God's grace. We are being lifted from our doubts. We will ride the waves of change with our convictions. Together, the villagers grasped onto that moment. They began to share stories, each tale transporting them from fear to courage. Laughter erupted as they recounted their favorite memories, and the flickers of hope ignited into radiant flames. Amid the conversations, Ethan stepped forward. His face radiated a depth of understanding, the effects of resurrection still echoing through him. Every trial we face proves to be a door leading to newfound perspectives, a chance to see life through God's eyes, not just our own. His words stirred Sarah's heart anew. They had indeed been given a perspective richer than before. Just as the storm nourished the earth, their struggles nurtured their spirits. She felt as if a divine light guided them through uncertain paths, leading them closer to an unfathomable understanding of divine love. Moments of shared reflection led to a decision. The villagers agreed to come together once more at the church, a sacred space that had served as their refuge. It was where they wanted to pray and seek deeper answers to questions lingering in their hearts. As the congregation filled the church, a palpable energy enveloped them. The air seemed to vibrate with questions and revelations. What if this isn't just a storm we face, but the catalyst for something greater? Sarah suggested, her faith ignited. What if we are being prepared for an awakening, a calling to be vessels of grace? Father Thomas nodded, entrusting them with a challenge. Let us bring forth our intentions tonight. Those burdens we carried may have been heavy, but together, we can transform them into blessings. In that moment, as they prayed and meditated, the wind outside picked up once more. It swirled through the trees and whipped around the church, carrying with it a whisper, a promise of what was to come. Do you feel that? Jacob's voice broke through the silence. That is the breath of the Spirit. We must be ready to receive what is being revealed. As the villagers huddled together, hands clasped in faith, a flicker of uncertainty returned. What blessings awaited them? Would they be able to fully embrace the divine gifts that stirred just beyond the horizon? The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation, and as they leaned into their community of faith, they knew one thing. They were on the brink of something miraculous. With hearts open, they breathed deeply, ready for whatever revelation God had in store. What awaited them in the quiet moments of seeking? Would they be brave enough to heed the call? As the flicker of candles filled the church with warmth, an expectant silence wrapped around the villagers like a comforting shawl. The gentle rustling of their clothes faded. The sacred atmosphere held them captive. Father Thomas took a deep breath, sensing the divine presence thickening in the air. Tonight, he began, his voice soft yet powerful. We gather not merely to pray but to listen to what the Spirit whispers to our hearts. His words were met with nods of agreement. Each villager held onto the promise of hope, wrapped in the colorful embrace of the rainbow shining outside. But Father Thomas continued, it is also a night for honesty. We must lay our burdens at the altar. With that, a wave of courage surged through the congregation. People began to voice their struggles, their worries about jobs lost in the storm, their fears about relationships frayed by stress, and the gnawing anxiety about the future. Each confession was a clear note in a sacred symphony, echoing the authenticity of their human experience. Ethan, still glowing from his earlier insights, added, what if our struggles tell truths we've yet to see? What if the pain leads us to recognize the strength within us? Sarah's heart swelled. She wanted to respond, but instead, she listened. She felt the trust in their shared vulnerability. It was as if the storm outside had ceased to exist, replaced by the more profound storm of transformation brewing within each soul present as the prayers deepened. The wind howled outside, a stark contrast that sent chills through the open windows. The eerie sound seemed to merge with their deepening prayers, elevating their concerns toward heaven. Jesus, we trust you. Make our troubles a testament to your glory, someone whispered quietly. Father Thomas raised his arms, an invitation to the Spirit. Let us be vessels of grace. Let every worry be lifted like incense. Let every tear fall in hope. Suddenly, the flickering lights illuminated an image a moment captured in the chapel. The villagers gasped as beams of light shimmered through the stained glass, casting multicolored patterns onto the altar. What was this but a glimpse of heaven kissing the earth? Behold, the light is revealing God's promises, Jacob exclaimed, his voice shaking with awe. In that instant, there was a tangible feeling of connection. Hearts raced, and souls stirred. It was not merely light filtering in, but something much more, a divine encounter. They felt a gravitational pull towards each other and toward God, binding them in a sacred thread of love. The air grew thick with emotion. Warmth enveloped them. Sarah closed her eyes, absorbing the moment. Peace washed over her, washing away lingering fears. She breathed in deeply, her heart aligning with those around her, a symphony of faith, hope, and unwavering love. Still, uncertainty lingered in the corners of her mind. Would these revelations endure? Could their intentions manifest into something life-changing? It begins here and now, Father Thomas declared, breaking through the contemplative silence. Let us now declare our intentions to the heavens. Let us affirm our faith in the beauty above. As the villagers began to express their intentions aloud, something stirred. Each uttered word seemed to vibrate through the rafters, flowing outward, embracing the world beyond those walls. They realized that they were not just speaking prayers. They were manifesting hope. But amidst the vocal declarations, a gentle rustling caught Sarah's attention. It was a butterfly, soft and delicate, fluttering through the open door. It danced in the light, a vivid splash against the darkness. She felt a shiver run down her spine. What does this mean? She wondered. Is this a sign from God? The villagers paused, eyes tracking the butterfly as it swooped around the church before settling on the altar. A hush fell, and with it, a profound realization began to take hold. Could they be transformed like the butterflies? What awaited them in this journey of healing and awakening? Would their faith carry them into new beginnings? As the butterfly perched gracefully atop the altar, the atmosphere shimmered with potential. The villagers exchanged glances, a mixture of wonder and anticipation swirling in their hearts. Each soul was stirred, knowing this moment was extraordinary. Father Thomas moved closer to the altar, his eyes shining with fervor. This butterfly is no ordinary creature, he proclaimed, his voice steady. It is a symbol of transformation. Just as it transforms from a caterpillar to a radiant being, so too can we emerge from our struggles renewed and restored. The villagers leaned forward, hanging on his every word. They could feel the energy of hope sparking in the space like the firelight flickering in the corner. Was it truly possible for them to change, to rise from the ashes of desperate circumstances? Ethan, emboldened by the moment, spoke up. We must embrace our trials as part of this process. It's in our difficulties that resilience is born. His words echoed through the church, lifting spirits higher. Purpose surged in the room, igniting a fire in hearts once weighed down by despair. A collective murmur of agreement rippled through the congregation. Each person felt the weight of their burdens lighten, if only for a moment. Sarah opened her eyes wider, catching sight of the butterfly again, its delicate wings a testament to beauty found in struggle. She could see it now. Her worries did not define her. They were merely a part of her journey. Let us not be afraid to share our visions for the future, Father Thomas urged, his arms still reaching upwards. These dreams can guide us out of darkness and lead us into the light of God's promise. One by one, villagers began to share their dreams aloud. A farmer spoke about a bountiful harvest, and a young mother shared her hopes for unity in her family. The words poured out like a stream, each intention carrying the weight of their hearts. They were not just expressing desires. They were constructing a collective vision of renewal, binding their spirits in communion as they spoke. The butterfly danced again, fluttering in the warm light that now seemed to envelop the whole room, as if affirming their dreams and inviting grace into the space. Father Thomas caught sight of Sarah, her eyes glistening with tears of joy, and smiled gently. He understood the change inside her heart was deeper than she could express. A sense of unity prevailed, an unspoken promise lingering in the air. They felt it, a shared understanding that together, they could overcome. It was the strength of community, where each prayer and each intention woven into a tapestry of hope demanded attention from the heavens. Suddenly, the wind outside quieted, almost as though creation was listening in reverent silence, allowing them to feel the spell of divine possibility. Would these revelations take root? Would their lives reflect the beauty they longed for? Jacob, inspired by the moment, exclaimed, "This is our sacred story. Friends, each of us carries a piece of it within us. Let us not just speak it. Let us live it." His declaration prompted cheers and laughter, the kind that embraced visions of the future. But then, as the last echoes of laughter faded, a sense of quiet descended again. Each villager looked around, pondering the transition from words to action. What would this new chapter mean for them? Caught in that stillness, Sarah whispered to herself, "Can we truly become who we are meant to be?" Father Thomas, sensing the uncertainty, reminded them gently, "God speaks through our hearts, guiding us with the light of hope. We must trust this journey, even when it feels daunting. Listen closely, for the path ahead is illuminated by faith." With that, uncertainty lingered, not as a fear but as an invitation to explore, to step into the unknown, ready for the miracles yet to unfold. What revelation awaited them next? Would their actions align with the dreams they voiced that night? Only the unfolding mystery of tomorrow would tell. As the light dimmed slightly, a hushed reverence settled over the church. The air felt thick with possibilities, the kind that whispers to the soul in moments of stillness. Father Thomas paused, allowing the weight of his words to grasp the hearts of those before him. Each villager's breath seemed to sync with the rhythm of their God-given hopes. Then, from the back, an elderly woman named Margaret stood up. With her hands rested on her heart, she spoke with a tremor in her voice. "We've all faced storms. Haven Tiwi? I lost my husband and felt like the world had turned gray. But here, surrounded by you, I feel the colors return. Together, perhaps we can find joy again." Gasps of understanding rippled across the congregation. Margaret's admission tore through the air, allowing vulnerability to seep into their collective spirit. They were reminded that healing comes not just from personal triumphs, but from the strength of shared burdens. The butterfly fluttered once more, as if urging them to respond. "Margaret, you shine brightly," Ethan called out, his voice rising with encouragement. "You remind us that healing isn't a journey we take alone. It demands community, support, and love. Your light inspires us." The villagers erupted with applause, laughter and tears mingling in the illumination of this shared experience. Joy swelled like spring buds breaking through winter's hold. The transformation they yearned for was found in each other, just as Father Thomas insisted. Yet, as the vibrant energy soared, a faint wind whispered through the doors, sending a chill through Sarah. She shivered, not from cold but from a stirring realization. The tender dreams shared tonight needed more than spoken words. They required action, dedication. "Father Thomas," Sarah interjected, somewhat nervously but determined, "how can we act on our dreams? There's one thing to share, but another to live them out each day." A thoughtful smile crossed Thomas's lips. "You have touched on a profound truth, dear Sarah. To act requires courage. It demands faith in not only ourselves but in God's plan. What if we took one small step this week?" His suggestion ignited curiosity among the villagers. Each one began stirring with ideas, their minds racing towards the practical possibilities. Together, they could cultivate dreams of love, growth, and revitalization within their community. "Let us create a garden," proposed Jacob, "a place of beauty where we can gather and grow food, but also a space to nurture each other. We can start this week." "Yes, yes." Others chimed in, excitement rippling through the room like a pulse of newfound life. Father Thomas raised his hands again, his voice ringing with authority. "Amen. Let this garden be a symbol of our commitment to one another and to God's vision for us." Each seed planted is a promise kept. As discussions erupted regarding who would bring what tools and seeds, Sarah felt a warmth bloom in her heart. It was a realization that they were beginning to manifest the change they longed for. The transformation they spoke of wasn't merely a wish. It could be their new reality. Yet just as smoothly as the energy built, an undercurrent of doubt swept through her. Would they sustain this momentum? What challenges lay ahead on this newfound path? Looking up at the fluttering wings of the butterfly one more time, she whispered, "Can this truly work for all of us?" With that lingering question in her heart, the village prepared to step into action. They knew the journey was just beginning, but what awaited them in their commitment could be nothing short of miraculous. As they stepped towards their future, it became clear that this new chapter was not merely about planting seeds in soil, but about sowing hope in their souls. Would they have the courage to nurture what was just beginning to blossom? Only time would reveal the beauty of their combined efforts. Would they face trials and triumphs alike along the way? The dawn broke on a new day, saturating the village in soft gold. The rising sun peeked through the branches of ancient trees, casting playful shadows on the dew-kissed grass. A sense of hope rested gently upon the hearts of the villagers, the air still buzzing with the echoes of last night's revelations. As Sarah stepped outside, a sweet optimism filled her being. She felt a call deep inside, a whisper encouraging her to step forward, to build something beautiful alongside her neighbors. Today is the day, she murmured to herself, as she gathered her tools and planned to meet with Jacob and the others nearby. Margaret pored over her collection of seeds, her hands trembling with excitement. Each seed felt like a promise, a hope for renewal. She envisioned a place where laughter would accompany the rustle of leaves, where even the heaviest hearts could find solace and healing. With every grain of soil she turned, she felt her own wounds begin to mend. Meanwhile, Jacob chatted with a few other villagers, spreading enthusiasm like wildfire. We could plant tomatoes, herbs, even some flowers. His eyes sparkled with possibility. Imagine the meals we will share, the connections forged over the fruits of our labor. His enthusiasm uplifted the spirits around him, generating a contagious energy. As the sun climbed higher, Father Thomas walked among them, a quiet smile gracing his face. Every villager had a purpose in this endeavor. This garden is a mirror of Goddess love reflected through our unity, he proclaimed, standing tall. Let every seed be a prayer for healing. Let every blossom remind us of the light found in community. He watched as hands met soil, laughter floated in the breeze, and the spirit of collaboration filled the air. Yet, behind the joyous facade, he sensed the inner turmoil of doubt that sometimes crept in when divine plans unfold. Faith is often built on stepping into the unknown, he thought, knowing that the path would not be smooth. In the days that followed, their shared commitment began to flourish. New paths opened up in their hearts, allowing for an expansion of love and forgiveness. Sarah found herself drawn into deeper conversations with her neighbors. With each interaction, they unpeeled layers of their lives, sharing stories of struggle, joy, loss, and triumph. However, one crisp morning, just as the first buds broke the surface, a sudden storm swept in. Clouds roared and winds howled as if nature itself was testing their resolve. Sarah clutched her gardening tools as anxiety washed over her. Would their efforts wash away in the downpour? Huddled together in the church, seeking shelter, the villagers felt the weight of uncertainty. Whispers of fear floated through the air like drifting leaves. Everything we worked for. Sarah's voice trembled as she glanced out at the tumultuous sky. Father Thomas, tiny droplets gathering on his brow, steadied his heart. Do not fear. Nature, too, is part of the world's cycle. It has its storms, and we shall have ours. But remember, he urged, raising his hand, a garden cannot bloom without the rains. Our faith sustains us, even in trials. The villagers leaned closely, with eyes filled with question and longing for assurance. Could they trust in the goodness despite the chaos? Would their dreams weather the storm? As the rain began to fall, soaking the earth, hope flickered through the congregation like a candle in the dark. A wave of solidarity surged, for they were not alone. They were tethered by faith, rooted in the shared commitment to nurture the gift God had entrusted them. In that moment, with hearts heavy yet hopeful, they felt an awakening deep within, a gentle prompting to trust. Each raindrop felt like a promise, a nourishing blessing on their journey. They understood now that together, they would not only cultivate a garden, but also strengthen their faith and community roots. The air thick with expectation, they began to chant softly together a hymn of resilience and faith. Each voice was a thread weaving them closer, a declaration that no storm could sever the bonds they had forged. And as they sang, a light broke through the clouds, illuminating the path before them. What miracles awaited on the other side of this storm? Would they emerge transformed, stronger for the trials they faced together? The answers lay hidden, waiting to be discovered as the storm raged on, heralding a renewal of spirit. In the heart of the tempest, as the hymn rose higher, a question lingered. What new growth would emerge from their shared pain? As the rain deepened, the villagers found themselves enveloped in its rhythm. Each drop was a soothing pulse, washing away their fears. They felt a deep-rooted connection forming among them, a divine thread binding their hearts together, fortifying their resolve. Inside the church, the flickering candles cast dancing shadows on the stone walls, as though even the light wished to partake in their growing unity. With every chord of their hymn, an ancient power awakened. Father Thomas, sensing the shift, turned to them with renewed fervor. In the struggles of our lives, he said, voice rising above the storm, we discover not just who we are, but who we can become. Sarah felt the significance of those words resonate within her. The storm outside mirrored the storms in their lives. Each individual's struggles and triumphs mingled together, creating a beautiful tapestry of community. As the wind howled, she faced the reality that her own journey was entwined with those of her neighbors. Margaret offered her thoughts, her voice steady despite the turmoil outside. We've all faced our battles, she said, holding up a small seed in her trembling hand. This little thing has the potential to become something magnificent. Just as we will grow from this experience. Jacob nodded. If we persevere, this storm will only strengthen our roots. Just like the flowers that need the storm to burst forth, we, too, shall flower from our trials. Comfort washed over them, affirming that their collective spirit could withstand anything. Just as their garden would eventually bloom, their hearts had begun to blossom, even amid darkness. But then, amid their collective faith, the storm shifted. The wind picked up aggressive vigor, as if the fury of nature sought to drown their hopes. Panic rippled through the group. Sarah's heart raced. What if we can't handle this? But Father Thomas remained a steady beacon. He raised his hands. Remember, dear friends, he exclaimed, our faith, when nurtured, can create miracles even from the deepest despair. Reflect on the words of the Master. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. Those words wrapped around them like a warm embrace. The hymn softened to a whisper, and in that sacred silence, realization dawned upon them. They weren't just battling an external storm. There was a storm of doubt in their hearts. Yet in the midst of this, they felt the stirrings of divine promise. Outside, the winds howled, but within, their voices rose. The storm had not broken them. It had forged them anew. Hope swelled within Sarah, igniting her spirit like a phoenix rising. They weren't merely gardeners planting seeds. They were warriors who had chosen faith over fear. As the last verse of their hymn drifted into the twilight, the storm began to relent. The clouds parted slightly, revealing a glimpse of the sun behind. Rays cascaded down, illuminating their sacred space in a golden light. I hear him, Jacob whispered, all flooding his features. It's as if he is telling us to keep moving forward. And then, as if responding directly to their prayers, a soft rainbow began to emerge from the remnants of the storm. It arched across the sky, a stunning promise painted in the heavens. Gasps spread throughout the church, wonder mingling with worship. But as they stood, mesmerized by this divine sign, a profound question hung cloaked in mystery. What legacy would they create from this moment of grace? Would they embrace the blessings ahead, or allow fear to overshadow their faith? The answer lay just beyond the shimmering horizon. As dawn broke over St. Michael's, the fog of uncertainty began to lift, revealing a village transformed not only by the storm but by the very faith that had woven them together. Sarah stood on her porch, the warmth of the sunlight washing over her. The rainbow, a radiant promise filled with color, arched in the sky, reminding her that this moment was just the beginning, a divine declaration of enduring hope. Inside the church, the villagers were gathering for their celebration, hearts eager with newfound purpose. Joy buzzed in the air, a tangible reminder of the miracles they had witnessed. Father Thomas, his face illuminated with conviction, addressed the congregation. Friends, we have weathered storms and tasted both despair and victory. Today we celebrate the gift of faith, a faith that goes beyond words and manifests in actions. Excitement pulsed through the crowd as discussions turned to plans. They could sense the urgency to carry the spirit of the garden forward, to let it flourish beyond its plotted soil. Delilah stood and spoke with strength. The storm revealed that we are not just individuals. We are a community called to reflect grace. Let us expand this garden into outreach, into love shared, into our everyday lives. A chorus of agreement echoed through the congregation. Voices rising with fervor, they began to draft plans on how to share their experiences of hope. Sarah's heart raced, an unquenchable fire ignited within her. This was about more than planting seeds. It was about planting faith deeply in their hearts. We must invite those who lost their spark, she added, yearning for her words to encapsulate the urgency of their mission. Let us open our arms to others. The spirit of collective determination resonated. One by one, villagers offered to open their homes, share meals, and mentor one another. We will host community dinners, shouted Jacob, his excitement infectious. Let us create spaces to share stories, to plant love, to heal the bare earth of isolation. As they each voiced their contributions, a sense of divine unity manifested. Everyone was eager to be part of this movement, a manifestation of goddess grace spilling forth like rain nourishing the garden. Their hearts swelled. Where doubt once dimmed their spirit, now resolve brightened each soul. With spirits soaring, they turned their gaze again to the rainbow brightening the heavens above. It's a sign, Ethan called out, his youthful spirit shining. A sign that hope is now within our grasp. We can make this village a beacon. Indeed, every heart present understood this moment was God's invitation. Their miracle was only the beginning. They were called to action. With renewed purpose, they all pledged to nurture not just the garden in their midst but the garden of faith that had taken root in each heart. A garden that would grow into something extraordinary. And so, as the village banded together, joy simmered beneath their actions. The church transformed into more than a building. It became the epicenter of love, a hub for healing light that spread like wildfire through the community. Together, with hearts aligned, they cleaned up the village, shared resources, and opened the church for gatherings of all kinds. Healing from past wounds became a shared endeavor, where hopes were exchanged like flowers in bloom. Those once lost in solitude found solace within their community. Days turned to weeks, and every Sunday became a testament to the unwavering faith that had blossomed from their trials. Father Thomas looked out upon his congregation, filled with new faces and old friends alike. Each seed planted is a story of love and renewal, he said, his voice filled with pride. Together, we are creating legacies not just for ourselves but for generations to come. Our faith can heal our village. As they prayed and sang together, colorful blooms replaced the shadows once cast by the storms. Sarah, standing among her neighbors, smiled through tears of gratitude, her heart echoing with warmth. They had turned their miracles into movements. In that moment she understood. This vibrant community was a manifestation of divine love. The storm hadn't broken them. It had shaped them into vessels of grace, enabling them to find strength in vulnerability. They had learned that together they could withstand anything. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a peaceful warmth enveloped the villagers of St. Michael's. They knew their journey was just beginning. There would be challenges ahead, but they carried within them the resilience of one another. Let us go forth, Sarah proclaimed, a fire in her voice. For we are seeds of hope ready to bloom. As laughter and hymns filled the air, the villagers journeyed forward, hands clasped in faith, hearts synchronized in love, and spirits unyielding under Goddess' watchful grace. The story of their miracle was alive. Dare they let it flourish into something even greater. Now, brothers and sisters, if the story has touched your heart today, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories that will strengthen your soul. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Like a blossoming garden, you're making a difference. Comment below with your reactions and testimonies about this ending, and share instantly this miraculous video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Don't wait even one more second to spread the joy. For true servants of God know the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.